Hey, welcome back to the channel here. So I've made a few introductory videos about the car, and now this time, I want to kind of go into a little bit of a deep dive on the way that it is today. The previous video I created talked about how the first step on the car was methanol injection, that it ultimately flooded my cylinder walls and blew my motor up. I'll never recommend methanol injection as a way to get power from a motor after that, and I'll never use it again myself. So originally, I'll be honest and say that originally the main reason I went with methanol is because I didn't want to spend the money to convert over to using E85. So after that, of course, I bit the bullet and I went ahead and did a number of things to be able to run E85. And of course, one of them you've got to have a beefy fuel system because it requires more quantity of the E85 to get the same fuel as you would with gasoline. If E85 compared to gasoline is a topic can be covered in other videos, but that's the core bottom line. It's not as efficient as gasoline is. However, ethanol is also what they call poor man's race gas, which is like 110 octane gas or fuel, and it's pretty inexpensive too. I'm fortunate enough to live in the Dallas area where it's pretty abundant. They've got some right down the road from me in both directions. I hear about a lot of the people in Canada, places like that, where they don't hardly have any, and I feel sorry for them. Hopefully they have more 85 coming out if all the cars don't move over to electric before then. But anyway, so the setup on the car right now is I have a BMS intake manifold, full bolt-on. The manifold was a little pricey, but I'd come into a little money, and so I thought, I'm gonna go ahead and get that. It's a little bit better distribution of fuel and stuff. You can look at the BMS intake manifold on their website. I think it was about I don't remember how much it was. It wasn't too bad, but so I decided to go ahead and do that. And it puts the injectors, the port injectors on top. It's a better way to do it. And then I went ahead and got rid of my old port injection setup, which was old and I think was causing me a lot of problems on why we couldn't tune the car properly and kept getting super knocking and stuff. Tore all that out, replaced it with, with the reflex setup from Motive. And Jake at Motive was instrumental in getting that going. We had a couple of weird things happen with the little ethanol sensor reading backwards. I think there were like two things like that, and he pushed us through that pretty quick. He's awesome. And of course, like I said in my previous video, John Russell was my tuner who, you probably know who he is. I can't say enough good things about that guy. And so anyway, moving along, down towards the motor, I've got a cat can, full bolt on. I also had the VSRF huge 7.5-inch intercooler. That thing is incredible. This thing, it's like 102 degrees today, and my IATs are like 115. And I can even sit and idle, and it's still cool. That intercooler is phenomenal. It was so much worth the money. I've had it on the car like 4 years. Oh my gosh, it's so much worth the money. It's not even that expensive. This is a 6-speed manual car with all-wheel drive and turbo, which was two of my main requirements when I was looking to get a performance sedan. It had to be all-wheel drive, it had to be turbocharged, and it couldn't be a 4-cylinder. I wanted at least a 6-cylinder. I kind of wish these cars had 3.8s actually, like the Grand Nationals did. Anyway, full exhaust, catless downpipes and stuff. It's got some pretty nice looking, air filters and stuff like that. Stock radiator and all that. And so basically, that's the current setup. A couple of Walbro 450s. And also the Vu brothers in Fort Worth worked their magic on the car as far as running through the whole thing and just recommending all kinds of things to update, a lot of little things, just kind of freshen it up. And so it's really fresh right now, and everything is really just running great. It has been lowered, of course. I've got coilovers. It looks great. I'm going to do a walk around here in just a little bit. Springs, coilovers, suspension, all that stuff is great on it. Transmission stock, although of course I changed the fluid and put some synthetic in there. Differentials, I went through and replaced all those with, with full synthetic fluids. And so basically that's a quick overview. Full bolt alone gives a big long list. But it is flex fuel, so I can put any fuel in it I want and it'll adapt to the tune up or down. I've seen that work, so that's really cool because sometimes I take trips, to different states, and it's nice to not have to worry about flashing my car every time I turn around. So that's all for now, and I think up next, I'll do a little walk around and actually show the car. And I haven't been able to dyno it yet. I called to make an appointment, but first available was mid-August, unfortunately. So we're a month or so away from that. I'm hoping to make at least 670 at the wheels from this current configuration. And I'm running around 28, 29, 30 psi in those ranges, depending on the RPM and stuff. I have pure high flow stage 2 turbos, so they're actually the limiting factor on the car right now. And so just a little bit of details on the motor. It is a built motor. When my ethanol flooded the car, I had to get a built motor. For built motors, I'd recommend that you search for a guy named Billiam Mason on Facebook. He's well regarded in that area. And then for tuning, of course, John Russell or Jake at Motive. Both those guys are incredible. The motor has a closed deck block. I didn't get camshafts. I wanted to, but I was talked out of it by two different people. I love the sound of a nice loopy cam, but I got talked out of it. That wouldn't make much difference. It's closed deck block. I've got the crankshaft, the crank hub pin. It's got Carrillo's steel rods, JE forged pistons. I didn't go with sleeves, but it does have the closed deck block. So one of the things I ran into in that area was that the closed deck block and the forged pistons gave me a little bit, and John, a little bit of heartache on false knock, meaning that I was pulling timing pretty hard, like -8, -9 degrees a lot of the time, no matter what we did. Fueling looked great. Spark plugs were clean as a whistle. Everything was wonderful, but yet the computer kept retarding the timing. Did a lot of research, ultimately found out the reason was because of false knock. And so anyway, quick bottom line, ultimately what I wound up doing was I went with some pentiometers that were like $10 a piece, one for each cylinder bank. And those actually will muffle that false knock to where the false knock won't make it through, but real knock will. And now I have no timing corrections. Log is clean as a whistle. Fueling, everything, all the numbers look fantastic. I'll go into that a little bit more detail here in a little bit when I do the walk around.